Welcome back, everybody, to Take 5, where we encourage you to take 5 minutes to invest in new ways of thinking about your business and your life. Okay, so we have been working our way through the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And just as a reminder, the reason we call these dysfunctions is because these how teams naturally operate without some sort of intentionality on the part of a leader. They gravitate towards these patterns of dysfunction with one another. We've been through the first 3. And so to be successful as a team, you've got to get vulnerable with each other so that you can create trust. You got to get naked with each other, understand what your team members do well, what you don't do well, and be okay with that. And then as the leader, it's your job to take the next step and mine for healthy conflict. Otherwise, there's this artificial harmony that takes over and you aren't able to achieve the goals in your business. And if you've got those 2 things in place, the next thing that you need to be able to do on your team is have solid commitment. Most organizations, most teams have no idea why they're there or what they're doing. Just walk up to any place and ask these folks, why are you here today? What's going on? What's the main thing you're working on as a team? And very few folks are going to be able to tell you. So they have to be able to trust each other. They've got to have healthy conflict that you as the leader mind for, and they've got to be crystal clear on why they're there. Now that last one, why is that so important? Well, in order for your team to call each other out on their behaviors and actions, they have to be crystal clear and have a clear sense of what's expected of them. And that brings us to our 4th dysfunction, which is the avoidance of accountability. This is the natural state of most teams and most organizations. Accountability is weird. It's a buzzword that has lost a lot of its meaning because it's been overused in business, just like empowerment and quality, and nobody has any idea what those mean either. So in the context of teamwork, we're talking about the willingness of team members to call their peers out on performance or behaviors that might hurt them. Not you as the leader holding people accountable, but people on your team holding each other accountable. Now, one of the main reasons this is so difficult is because we have to learn to tolerate the discomfort that comes from calling each other out. And the reality is that most of us would just rather avoid difficult conversations. You don't get up in the morning and say, man, I really hope I can go confront Steve today because he's just sucking at this project he's on. No, that's not how we are. And so that's why it's so critical, again, to create an environment where your team members trust each other, that you as the leader mind for conflict on a regular basis, and that your team is super clear about the mission. Without those things in place, people are simply not going to go there. They're just not. So here's the weird thing. You want your team to bond and you want them to get close to one another, right? But ironically, the closer we are to each other, there is often more hesitation to hold each other accountable. And you've probably seen that in your friendships, and there's a lot of ideas about why. But most of the time, it comes down to just not wanting to lose a friend. And if you've ever been down this road before, then you know it is a dead end. Real relationships, healthy relationships, have this natural accountability that's built in. Okay, so we know we need accountability to be successful, right? But how? Here's the key takeaway I want you to remember for today. It's peer pressure. So when I started in my business, I left the corporate world for a reason. I hated bureaucracy. In most organizations, when we try to change behavior, we just write a new policy. But the problem is policies don't do anything to change behavior. And more than any policy or any system, there is nothing like the fear of letting down respected teammates that motivates people to improve their performance. So it's the leader's responsibility to set the tone for this type of accountability, right? And over time, as it becomes part of the culture, real accountability happens when you're not there. So I promised you, right, when we started this, that if I was going to talk to you about what is the key thing that you can do as a leader to give yourself more time back, more white space in your life. And this is one way that you can overcome that challenge. We've all had the experience of our businesses not running the same when we're not there. And if you create this type of accountability in your team environment, the team is going to operate more effectively or just as effectively when you're not around. So what are your key takeaways that I want you to remember for this week? So real quickly, a team that avoids accountability has 4 key challenges. It tends to create resentment and mediocrity on the team. You've got superstars and star performers that's carrying the weight of everybody else, and it drags your team down. The team is going to miss key deadlines and deliverables because you're not working effectively together and you're not holding each other accountable. One of the biggest ones, I think, is that it becomes policy-driven organization. You've got this huge binder full of stuff that nobody does, and you as the leader think you've solved a problem by creating these rules, but nobody's holding each other accountable, so the rules don't matter. But then lastly, and arguably the most important for what we're talking about, it places more burdens on you as the leader. You can't get your life back. You've got to be there every single day to make sure that the things are getting done that need to be done. So one key action step for you as you think about this and your key takeaway, I want you to try and work towards allowing your team to serve as the first and primary accountability mechanism in your workplace, not you. You're not the one holding everybody accountable. The team is holding each other accountable. So I encourage you to go talk to them about that. Now you hold the trump card. At any moment you can step in, make a decision, do what needs to be done when your team can't hold each other accountable. But I want you to begin to start teaching your team about these concepts so they can start holding each other accountable. And tell us how it goes. Put your thoughts and comments in our YouTube comments below, and go out and try this stuff. I promise you, if you do it, you're going to find that you get some of your life back, and your team is a whole lot happier, and you're able to achieve your goals, which is the last dysfunction that we need to overcome, and we're going to talk about that next time. So thanks for taking 5 with me today, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Welcome back, everybody, to Take 5, where we encourage you to take 5 minutes to think about new. No, it's not what we do. It's not what we do. It's not.